Good afternoon, folks. This is the Real Life Real Estate Investing Show where we talk about real life real estate situations, but we bring you real life real estate solutions. I'm your host, Glenn Glassford, affectionately known as Mr. Dollar Out of a Dime. And my guest today, I have a little bit of a bio to read for her, but there's so many kind and exciting and wonderful words that I want to add to this, but that would probably take up most of the show and you wouldn't get a chance to hear from her. So I dare not do that. So I'll share with you a little bit of information about her, and then I'll bring her up to share a little bit more. I am actually in awe of the opportunity to be able to have a conversation with the Jackie Jackson. She's a full-time real estate investor and coach, and she is a creative real estate investor specializing in tax liens and tax deeds across the United States. And I definitely, her title is the tax lien genius. I would like to call her the tax lien genie. So we're going to just bring her up and just talk about some of the things that she has going on. She's been, investing in real estate for quite some time. She's been in the military. And I want to say thank you for your service. She's U.S. Army military. She's passionate about coaching her students and believe it's non-negotiable step. Coaching is a non-negotiable step as new real estate investors wanting to become successful. This is something you must take serious. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up the Jackie Jackson. All right, Jackie, can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Good, very good. Again, I can't tell you how excited I am to be able to have you on this platform with me today. I have heard from several people already who have said that they're going to be tuning in today. I mean, as if they don't watch my show already. They should be watching already. But especially because of you today, they're going to be tuning in. So I'm excited to have you as a part of the program today. So if I had a little bit of an applause, I'd hit the button to say, or have the group to say welcome and give her some applause. So thank you for joining us today. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to share with the folks a little bit of your background and who you are and more specifically of what you do. I know I botched your intro, so I don't want to mess it up for you.
That's quite okay, Glenn. But before I introduce and just sharing anything about myself, I just always wanted to just acknowledge the opportunity that you have afforded me of having the moment to share with your audience. So thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm so excited and happy to be here. Truly, I really, really am. Thank you so much. So we're all professionals in our own space. And we all support each other and, geek out on, each other's wins and stuff like that. Absolutely. So I see you winning. Yeah, I see you winning. So I just wanted to acknowledge everything that you're currently doing right now is pretty dope and pretty amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So, my background, I started investing in real estate in 2006, right? So that was right before the real estate bubble or the real estate crash and so on like that. And during that period of time, I was working in banking. I was a vice president banker, right? So running my own branch, all that cool stuff. So, you go into your own branch and you meet the brand manager, and all that cool stuff. So that was what I was doing. So at the time, I had plenty of real estate investors that were members of the financial institution that I worked for. So I would manage their account, right? So I would see their deposits, I would see their wins, and when they would come in and, deposit after they flipped the deal and so on like that. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is excellent. I could do that too, right? Sure, right. It's cool. Looks cool, looks easy. So I jumped into the market without educating myself or anything. I just thought it was something that I could do. Why not? I was a banker, for goodness sake, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I mean, I knew everything, didn't I? Right? So anyway, needless to say, wrong property, wrong time in the market, using the wrong strategy and the wrong financing. And you know what happened. I experienced a tremendous loss. So $120,000 later, yeah, literally lick my wounds, right? $120,000 later, it was the most expensive PhD on what not to do.
Definitely.
Yes.
I can attest to that.
Yes. So that is the reason why I'm such an advocate for anyone that is interested in investing in real estate, to get a mentor, get a coach, get somebody that they could help them understand the special nuances, help them introduce them to the blind spots, like things that they don't know. And even the things that they do know, detangle all of that too. Because we learn by observation at YouTube University, and we're in a lot of different groups and so on. So you think you know what you know, but the truth is practical application is much different than theory. So you need somebody who's actually done and completed successfully what you're trying to do, to make sure that they help you step by step navigate through those landmines. Yeah, because they do blow up. Landmines do explode. So you need somebody that's going to help you navigate the process to avoid those landmines so you don't get hurt. So I'm a huge advocate for a mentor, whether it's me, Glenn, whether it's you or somebody else. You need to invest in yourself if you're going to have longevity, or if you really, really want to step it up and make real estate investing a viable solution in your life. Absolutely.
Definitely, definitely. Great stuff, great stuff. And talk about those landmines. You know, the one thing that we actually do, we get to keep our leg when it's blown off, but when it's blown up, but we do walk away with a limp.
This is true, because real estate investing, just like any other investing vehicle, always has risk, right? So no matter what, even if you're purchasing a property for your first time, and you're a first-time home buyer and you intend on, living in their property, there's an element of risk there as well. So every single real estate transaction, whether it's cash or you're a first-time home buyer or you're a real estate investor, it doesn't matter. It all has risks. So what I specialize in is helping people understand what those risks are and navigating through that. In addition, helping them understand like their due diligence, like what is it that they really need to know? How do they do the research on the property itself, the previous history of the property owner? Oh yeah, I even researched the person who owns the property. That's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the niche that I specialize in is tax liens and tax deeds. So it's imperative to know everything prior to bidding or buying that property, because it's really important to know that, because there may be some information that can be adverse to your ownership in the event that you are successful at the auctions themselves. So auctions happen weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. It just depends on the county and the type of auction that you're participating in. But the key to success is knowing everything in advance. And even if there are some adversities, having a plan in place to address that in the event that you are the winner and you are going to own that property sometime in the future.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, it's important that people understand what you're talking about as far as researching the actual owner, because, and I watched one of your videos. So listen, I have to tell you, I became an overnight fan. We had an opportunity to share a space and talking on a panel, I think, with AJ Alvin before. And I became an overnight fan. I immediately started watching a lot of your YouTube videos, and the information that you share is, again, it's phenomenal. I said it offline, but I want to make sure I let the audience know to definitely check out the Jackie Jackson YouTube channel, because it's amazing. But you also mentioned in there talking about researching, doing your due diligence and researching, because there could be liens on the property or liens against the person that people may not even are aware of when they're purchasing tax deeds and tax liens. Could you tell us a little bit more, like how in depth do you go when doing that type of research?
Oh man, I am searching 20, 30 years in the past. Wow. So I'm really doing a full title search on every single property that I'm interested in purchasing on. So, there's some element of assistance in that process, depending on the state and the county. So some states, some counties do offer some information for a partial diligence, but ownership and 100% of the responsibility of your due diligence is on the individual. So whether the county offers a tax deed file, or they're offering they're actually offering a title search that you can go look at, most of that information is dated and it's stale, right? So you'll get the information and you still need to do additional due diligence just to make sure that the status of any of those liens haven't changed or there might not be new liens. So now let's get into like, what exactly is it that Jackie's babbling about? What am I talking about? Listen, there are certain liens that may survive a tax deed sale and it may transfer to the new owner. So that's what I'm constantly putting my students in remembrance of. You need to watch out and make sure that you are mindful to know exactly where those liens are. And you need to read them and know what you're reading and be able to mitigate if they exist. So those liens would be government issued liens. So those are liens that would include easements, any type of like encumbrances. So code enforcement liens at every level, matter of fact. So there's 4 different levels to our government. Yeah. So most people can understand this. So the first tier would be federal, right? Most people could get that. So federal liens, and then you have state liens, and then you have county liens, and then you have city, town, or like municipality liens. And they're all different, right? But the way how you would identify them is that it says United States of, or it's the state of, okay, right. State of Alabama, state of Georgia, state of California, state of Florida. It says state of in the title, okay? Yeah. That's how you know that that's ones that you need to be paying attention to. And then, of course, it says county of. It would have the county's name in the title, and then, you know, city of or town of or something like that. So anything that says of, focus.
So and you know, that again, great information, because I've dabbled in tax deeds and tax liens a little bit. You know, by no means am I an expert, so you know, I always say let the experts do what the experts do. So you know, I've made some mistakes, you know, to the tune of not quite $120,000, but you know, it was worth. I'd say the lesson that I learned was probably more expensive than I'd like to have spent. So I certainly, you know, echo what you say about getting somebody to teach you how to do it if you don't know what you're doing. So tell us how, you know, why do you think that tax deeds and tax liens are a good investment strategy? Why should we do that? But
yeah, absolutely.
You know, the flipping and the wholesaling, the stuff that gives us nightmares at night. Why should we?
So people ask me that question all the time. Like, amongst all the different acquisition strategies for creative real estate investing, I mean, there's no limit to what the possibilities are. You know, you could specialize in wholesaling. You could specialize in owner financing. You could specialize in performing and non-performing notes, which are actually buying the paper on the property, the mortgage on the property versus the property itself. Specialize in option agreements and, you know, doing lease options. You can also specialize in purchasing properties subject to the existing mortgage. So there's all these unique and creative and wonderful no money down strategies that are available. I've done them all. Like, I've done every type of deal that you can think of on the residential side creatively, where I literally, you know, have been in wonderful positions that I've purchased properties with zero money out of my pocket, even money out of my pocket. And then at closing, I paid myself, right? Before anything has happened. That's my favorite one. Yes. But amongst all of those strategies, tax liens and tax deeds stood out to me because I didn't necessarily have to identify an upfront marketing cost. So all of those other strategies requires you to do some kind of outbound marketing so that you can communicate with motivated sellers, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's contingent upon you negotiating a really great opportunity with those sellers, okay? So tax liens and tax deeds, the list of those opportunities are provided by the government, right? So they're provided by the county themselves. So that's the reason why I chose it, because the list is just always there, you know, from week to week, from month to month, you know, from county to county, there's always going to be a list of opportunities that are available. And there are 3,141 counties across the United States, counties and county equivalents. So there is no shortage of opportunities, you know. So that's the reason why I chose to specialize in this particular strategy, is because I did not necessarily have to focus my energy on marketing and acquisition. I could just focus my energy on getting the list, understanding the county's special requirements to participate in the auction as a bidder, and then focus on my due diligence and acquisition. That's it.
That's great because I was watching one of your videos where you said where all these people are talking about there's a shortage of leads. It's like there's 3,000 plus counties. I said I had to think about that. I'm like, while I'm for motivated sellers, I think there's some people that are motivated.
Yeah. And then, even within the niche itself, Glenn, within the tax lien and tax deed niche, right? The whole strategy itself, there's 6 different ways that you can be profitable just in that niche alone. And I'll share it here. So I believe I've shared it a couple of times on my YouTube channel. If anybody wants to go check that out, they can go to YouTube / I think the Jackie Jackson, right? The Jackie Jackson, got a whole bunch of videos out there. But the 6 different ways that anyone could be successful in this specific niche is penned tax lien auction, right? So you can definitely pay the taxes for another property owner that may be delinquent for that specific tax year. And then it's really cool because you get a lien, a priority lien on their property, and you will have a rate of exchange, right? You'll have a return on your investment, some kind of interest rate that you're going to get based off of what the state's minimums are. Then there's also a thing called over-the-counter certificates. So those are the tax lien certificates that are not sold at the tax lien auction, and that's managed by tax collectors or perhaps like revenue commissions. It depends on the state. You just ask them for the list at the county level, and they're like, yeah, we got a couple of certificates that did not sell. And then they'll give you the list, and you have to do your own due diligence. It's still buyer beware. Right. And you can just purchase directly from the county without participating in the auction. So that's number 2. Number 3 would be to attend a tax deed auction. How cool is that? That is where you actually are able to obtain the property and ownership for the property. You'll be conveyed ownership to the property upon successful winning at that auction. Number 4 would be, hey, I wonder if I can contact the property owner prior to the auction. That's what you're talking about, right? That motivated list. Because for real, like if your name's on the list and your property is about to be auctioned, I believe you're probably motivated. Absolutely. Like, the count on the wheel. Like this is really happening. So that's number 4. And then number 5 would be the list of properties that are available for taxes that did not sell at the auction. And that's called the lands available list. In some places, it's called the properties or lands available for taxes, but same thing. And then number 6 is the surplus. So you do have some real estate investors that do not bid at the auction at all. They just kind of like, you know how people like scroll and they call it troll your social media, watch the sidelines. Yeah. So that's a lot of real estate investors as well. They'll observe and participate as a viewer or an observer at the auction, and they just want to see what property sold for. And then what they'll do is they will research who the former property owner is, and they will offer a service called a surplus recovery service for that owner, which is they're going to assist or they're going to attempt to assist that former property owner who lost their property at the auction and try to help them get and claim their surplus from the county. So that's also a viable income stream as well. And I teach all of these different strategies in my course. So pretty excited about that.
Great stuff. Yeah. One of my students is actually going through doing the tax overage, thing right now. So, I mean, phenomenal information. So with all of these different tax strategies, and one thing I want to go back to, because you did mention the difference. I think you talked about tax lien and tax deeds, but I want to get a little bit more in depth with that. But one thing that I did watch and you touched a little bit on is the different states that are tax deed states. You said there are 32 states that are tax deed states.
Yes.
And now I'll be honest, that I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was that many, because I'm only focused on a couple that I'm working in. But with 32 states being tax deed states, can you kind of clarify for folks that are watching what the difference between a tax lien and a tax deed is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll be happy to do that because it's very distinctive. You need to know the difference between the two. So, a tax lien is exactly what it is. It is a lien and a lien only. You're not getting any ownership of that property if you are a tax lien investor. What you're getting is a secured position on someone's title, right, as security for your lien. So basically it's like an IOU. That property owner can't sell their property or, you know, do anything like that, can't like refinance or anything without having to pay you. So it's like a cloud, if you think of it like a cloud just kind of hanging over that property owner's head, that they have to address that IOU that they have for you. All right. So that's what that is. You can't just, if you're a tax lien certificate investor, you can't be knocking on people's doors talking about, you owe me money, bruh. I don't pay your taxes for 2 years consecutively. What you gonna do, bruh? What, meet me outside? Meet me outside. No, you can't do that. That's against law. Don't do that. You're gonna go to jail. Okay, you gotta wait patiently for your opportunity. So that period of time is called a redemption period, right? That's kind of like a grace period for the property owner. And that's the period that the property owner, you know, has to pay you back. And then after that grace period, which is AKA really called a redemption period, has expired, you, the tax lien investor, now has an opportunity to go back to the county and ask the county for assistance in order to enforce, right? Attempt to collect the debt. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm called. Like this is a call. This is a call to attempt to collect the debt. Don't hang up. You know who it is. All right.
You know what it is.
You know who it is. So after the redemption period is expired, that's when you go back to the county, and you know every county has their process to get that ball rolling in order for the tax lien investor to escalate their attempt to collect the monies that they invested and paid for somebody else's tax, all the way up to foreclosing on the property and having the property be sold for the total delinquent taxes in its entirety. Not the market value, not that ARV, not LT, not none of that stuff, just the taxes by itself, which is pretty amazing. And now we transition in our conversation to a tax deed. So a tax deed is a deed, hence the name, tax deed, right? So there's different types of deeds. So a tax deed essentially is a deed that's conveyed by the government body, right, for the delinquent taxes on that property. And it really is transferring ownership to anybody that actually is purchasing. And in some tax deed states, you may obtain 100% of that ownership rights to those properties, or a percentage of the ownership rights to those properties, depending on the state statutes of that particular state. So that's why I'm such an advocate. I'm such an advocate for people reading. Like, I know it's fundamental, but I'm like, listen, all of the things that they want you to know is like in a book somewhere. So you go open it and read it, you know? So I've done a lot of the preliminary research for my students, where I've researched all 50 states, all of their statutes, laws, legislature regarding real estate delinquency and their process on collecting that. So that's why my students are so successful, is because, you know, they know what they know. They don't have to depend on hearsay. They just go directly to the source, and then can make an informed decision whether that state fits their business model. That state fits exactly what they're extracting, what they're trying to do. So that's the biggest difference between liens and deeds. I hope I wasn't too long-winded.
No. Listen, you're doing a great job. You're clarifying some stuff for me. So, you know, hopefully the people that are watching, you know, they get some clarity on the difference in those two, because like you said, there are distinctive differences, and you got to know what you need to know in order to get involved in something like that, you know, because most people hear tax lien, certificate, tax deed, and most of them think, you know, okay, I get to put some money, you know, in many cases, and I get ownership of the property, and that's not the case in many cases. So, you know, that's a very good clarification, and I thank you for that. So now, why in the world would someone want to do tax lien or tax deed investing as opposed to fixing and flipping and the wholesaling? Why in the world would somebody want to go through the hassle of doing all of this research? You know, I know why, but I'm sure you got to make a distinct, you know, idea, give folks a distinct idea of why the difference in the two, and why you chose it as a strategy to go and do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, why I chose this strategy is because it is my favorite acquisition strategy. But more importantly, when you look at the averages of what my actual spend is on securing a property. At times, like my maximum is like 20,000, you know, between 20 and like 30, high 30s, right? That's what I would say. So if you're looking like at a wholesale deal, right? So we're going to do some mathematics. So for our math fans out there, you got it. Ms. Jackson knows how to.
Y'all pay attention, because she about to make the rest of us look real bad. She about to make the rest of us look real bad. We've been doing this wrong for so long. She about to tell us.
So in a normal creative real estate investing strategy, we're normally looking for, especially wholesalers, right? So our mathematics is as follows, right? Normally we're looking for somewhere on the lines of about, you know, 50 cents on the dollar is really cool. Like if you had a deal on the contract, you know, if it was $100,000 and the seller agreed to take a cash offer for 50, would that be something that would be advantageous for you, Glenn?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, you actually do it all day. Give me two. Give me two, right?
I'm excited about 50 cents on the dollar. I'm excited.
The math works, right?
Yeah.
At the tax deeds auction, you can actually have properties that you acquire for even less than 50 cents on the dollar. So that's the reason why I love it so much compared to its ARV or its market value. It could be anywhere from, you know, opening bid. Oh my gosh, like I really purchased this property for like 2,000, 3,000, whatever the opening bid, whatever the actual taxes were. If you competitively have to participate in the auction, yes, of course, there may be other investors there, right? There's like 8 billion people on the planet. You're not the only one there that has the same interest in the same thing. So just expect that. But on average, it would be somewhere around about 30 cents to 35 cents on the dollar is what you could really realistically consider. So you normally are able to purchase property for even a lesser percent than if you were doing a wholesale deal. Does it take some patience? Yes. Does it take discipline? Absolutely. Does it take consistency? Totally. But you know what? All of the strategies do. When was the last time you started like a wholesale business and then you sent out all 1,000 yellow letters and your postcards and you at the phone like, you like this, you on the phone like, nobody called?
Call it back.
I didn't hear the phone. Oh, maybe I missed it. No, nothing.
Right. But see, that's the bill of goods that a lot of people get sold when the first thing, in many cases, the only thing they hear is that I can get it in real estate with no money down and no credit.
Yeah.
That's all they hear. Yeah. But what they don't know is that although that is the case, there's a whole lot of stuff, including patience, that goes along with getting involved that way. You know,
absolutely. So good. Like, so I tell like my students, I'm like, you wear multiple hats. And they're like, okay, yeah, like multitasking. I'm like, no. Like literally roles. Like there's different roles that we wear and there's different responsibilities in each of those roles. So the first role is, yes, we're real estate investors. So easy. You can understand that. But we're also private detectives.
Yeah.
That we are. We are private detectives. So every now and then you got to take off your real estate hat and then put on your private detective hat to make sure that you're clear on what you're doing, right? Absolutely. So that's another one. And of course you got to put on your patience hat as well too, because you know it's not designed for, you know, real estate is not a get rich quick type of strategy anyway. It's you know, get rich slow, and the name of the game is to safely, right, the least amount of risk, be able to acquire the types of properties that fits your buying strategy and your exit strategy and what you're trying to accomplish in your life. You know, it was so funny to me. One of my students, she acquired 6 properties through tax liens in the state of Alabama. And it was so funny. I love her so much. So when she did that, and I was like, I'm doing a happy dance, I'm doing the Dougie. I'm like, oh snap, good, you know, I'm so happy. You know, I'm happy for her. And then, but she wasn't, you know, as excited as I was. And I was like, what's wrong with you? Well, I didn't flip nothing. I was like, listen, because you know that's the thing, right? So you're watching HGTV and you're watching the shows, and you know the perspective. She felt like she didn't do anything, like she didn't do a deal. And I'm like, you did 6. What do you mean you didn't do a deal? Like, you own 6 properties. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? You own something, you know? So, you know, it was tax liens from the lands of available list in Alabama, which is pretty cool. It's a really interesting state because it's a lien state, but there's a way for you to actually be issued a deed in Alabama, which is like something, you know, a whole nother conversation. But what I'm sharing is that I said, okay, let's do the math. Let's just take the assessed value for each of those properties that you got, okay? Let's do that. So they were like, really, low end, low tier property. So on average, they were like about $40,000 on their assessed value each, which is pretty dope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, do that times 6.
Right.
Do this. Hold on. So we got 40,000. Make sure your zeros is right. Zeros matter. I tell people, they're like, Black Lives Matter. I'm like, no, zeros matter.
Zeros matter. I know. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
depending on the side of the decimal it's on. All right, so zeros matter. So 40,000 times 6, we had $240,000. I was like, listen, woman, listen, lady, ma'am, just in case you didn't know, you just added almost $250,000 to your net worth. She was like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I watched your video. That was one where you said a student, I don't know if it was in Alabama, where they paid $245 for a property that was worth 50 something thousand dollars.
Same girl.
Is that the same girl? Oh my goodness.
And she was like, Becky, but I didn't do a wholesale deal. That's my phone. I'm gonna hang it up. I'm gonna hang up now. Yeah,
Right.
so that's important, right? Because they have a perception of what they think is supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, however it happens, like just allow it to happen. And Absolutely. There's so many different strategies and paths to you accomplishing your best life, like whatever that looks like for you. Yeah. So you got to put it all into perspective. So really, really proud of her. Shout out to Jashina. Shout out to Jashina and all my other students as well. They're doing really, really well.
I think one of the things that we probably should, those of us that are educators should probably help people understand is that what we're teaching, like most people know that they want to make money and they want to get rich. But I think the mindset shift has to be understanding that building wealth, of course you're going to pass rich to build wealth. But I think the mindset many people get before anything is making money and getting rich. But when you're talking about creating nearly $250, $250,000 worth of net worth, I think that's something that if that doesn't translate into cash in my pocket, I don't think it actually is anything.
Right. And that's only because of just not knowing, just not knowing and putting emphasis on the wrong thing. So most people can understand that I made $10,000. Like if I gave you $10,000, like, oh my God, I got $10,000. Yeah. But if I added, $100,000 to your balance sheet, but you didn't get $10,000 in your hand, Absolutely. Then you're like, oh, nothing happened. And I'm like, no, something really cool, awesome, amazing happened. That $10,000 was great. Yeah, you could go out and buy you a new pair of shoes, but that $100,000 that is so much more important.
Yeah. So we have to change the idea from net income to net worth. Maybe they'll understand the difference in that.
Yeah, it's a huge difference, So how I normally start out my conversation, with my students is we talk about their goals, and that's no different. I think most people have that clear. But what they don't have clear is quantifying what their goals actually are. Yeah. So I encourage them to write that down. And if they respond to me with like round numbers, then I know that they didn't think about it. Right. So they're like, like 100,000. I'm like, oh, okay. So you're going to tell me that this is so important to you that you're actually not going to take the time to actually do the task. Right. So, are you about
happen all the time?
Are you about this life or not? So I really want them to encourage them to sit down, write out a plan or a vision for their best life. And when I say best life, I'm talking about where you want to live, how you want to live, what kind of car you want to drive, what kind of food do you want to eat, what kind of clothes you want to wear, what kind of places do you want to travel to, who do you want to take with you when you do travel, all of those things. How long do you want to stay? Where do you want to go? And then when you have all of that outlined, more importantly, how do you want to give? How do you want to contribute? All these different areas in your life that are important to you. So now that we have outlined what that looks like, the next step for us to do is quantify it. Like put a dollar figure beside it, and not just realistic, because I'm not about realism. I'm about faith. Right. So we put our faith
in your spirit.
We want to do our faith listing. I don't care about realistic, because your 5 senses can fail you every single time. This all is a mirage anyway, right?
Yes.
So our faith listed goes down, and then we're going to quantify it, and then we're going to divide up the pie. We're like, all right, my best life says I need to have a monthly cash flow of $10,000. That allows me 6 trips with my families, you know, one vacation per quarter every 12 weeks that I could, you know, while out for like, you know, 7 to 10 days. I could wear all the Gucci that I want or whatever that looks like for you. I don't know what your best life is. Anything that's good for you, I love it. Okay.
Right.
So you're like, okay, I need a cash flow of $10,000, you know, for my best life. And it's okay, well, which one of these strategies am I going to use to support my best life? So I have a backwards approach. So I start in the and with my students, and then we quantify their best life, have them be clear on it so that they can identify and match up with a strategy that fits their best life so that they begin to live their best life today. Not sometime in the future, not if I'm successful, then I could figure out if I can go on vacation. No, we're going to start doing that now, you know, because we only have now. We don't have tomorrow. It hasn't come yet. Yesterday was yesterday. Can't get that back. All you have is like right now. So we're going to figure out how we can actually have our best life today, right now.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Listen, absolutely on point. Absolutely on point. I want to read a couple of the comments that folks have shared. We have Brandon Hemfield who says excellent information and presentation. We have Mr. Don Jacobs. Shout out to Don Jacobs. Said Jackie is on her game. Keep educating and growing. These are great times in real estate. Absolutely. And Nadia says she wants to watch later because she had to jump off. But listen, great stuff. So tell us, how did you get started in doing all of these amazing things that you're doing? You know, I know you were in the military, so you came home, went to work at the bank, and then got into real estate and lost, you know, $120,000. So of course, you share with us the story of, you know, being a banker. So what was the rebound from losing? I guess share that with us. What was the rebound from losing the $120,000 to then getting back in and getting back on the horse and trying again? How did that work?
It's so interesting because the way how you outline the timeline is the opposite of what actually happened.
Oh,
so
okay.
I had that loss. I had that loss, right? And then I had to climb out of that deficit. So I took some years off so that I could self-educate. And while I was self-educating, we're still working in banking and paying off the debt that I had, you know, acquired, managing other people's, you know, money at the branch. I met a real estate investor that came into my branch. And at the time I was a notary. When he asked me to notarize a document, and just based off of my self-education, I realized that the document that he had me notarize was a real estate document. It actually was a land trust document. And I was like, I know what this is. This has something to do with real estate. You know, teach me right now. You know, I was like really demanding. I took him to my office. I closed the door, put the blinds down, everything. Like I risked it all. And I was just like, before you leave my office, as a matter of fact, you can't leave my office until you do exactly what it is that you are doing. Right. So he was like, okay, not awkward at all.
What do you say? What do you say after that?
Yeah, he was like, okay. So he said he's not the teaching type, which is cool. He wasn't. But what he said that he would introduce me to someone who was. So he was like, well, what are you doing, you know, next week, Wednesday? And I was like, obviously, I'm going to be with you. And he was like, well, you know, this is not a date, what, right? And I was like, absolutely. You know what? Even if it was a date, I would have took one for the team. Right. Where I'm coming from, okay, I've done it for worse, for less, okay?
Yes,
so I need this information. So you just tell me the time and the place and the location so I could show up next week, Wednesday. And when I showed up next week, Wednesday, where it was my local real estate investors association here in the Central Florida area, the largest real estate RIA, right? The RIA in this area. And they are a national chapter of the national RIA. But what he did is he escorted me right up to the front and he introduced me to, at the time, who was the president. And then it started from there. So I deeply immersed myself in what that looked like of being a real estate investor. I volunteered. I went to every meeting. I listened. I asked questions, all of these things. I even found my mentor, my first mentor at my RIA. The only problem is I still didn't have any money. That didn't change because I was still climbing out of that deficit. Okay. So I didn't have any money. So I realized that I had an opportunity, right? Because who I wanted to work with, I've already vetted him. he had so many success stories, so many people there that was really supporting him. And I could see that they had evidence of success. So I knew who I wanted to be my mentor. But I just didn't have enough funds for it. So one day I'm watching a commercial and it said, be all you can be. The United States Army. So I was like, damn.
So one way or another, you're going to be all you can be, huh?
Yeah. And they were giving away bonuses too. And I know what bonuses mean. Bonus means cash.
Right.
So I called up the recruiter and I was like, I want to join the Army because I want to get the bonus. And he was like, you want to get the bonus? And I was like, yeah, I want the bonus. Because I had plans for my bonus. My bonus was supposed to go to my mentor to pay for my mentorship program.
Wow.
That's how I ended up in the military. Yep. And that was 2010-ish, right? It was about 2010-ish. So I joined the military so that I could get the bonus. But nobody didn't tell me, Glenn. No, you didn't tell me about basic training.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They didn't tell me about the struggle. They didn't tell me about the struggle and physical endurance. I was like literally out there like G.I. Jane. I failed every single physical fitness requirement. I failed every test. Like I was not the smartest light bulb in the group by any means. That's not what happened. Like when I graduated my class, my peer group, if you will, I was literally 68 out of 69. Like I graduated, 68 out of 69. You know how they have years? Yeah, I was the best one. And the only other guy that beat me was because he didn't speak English. And I was like, damn. He was a foreign soldier. And I was like, damn.
Wow.
Well, that's the one who I got. So anyway, I got through 68 out of 69. And I got my bonus. And as soon as I got my bonus check, I called up my mentor and I was like, I'm back. I'm ready. And I will never ever forget. Shout out to my first mentor. I've had many mentors since that time. So I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in my education, which has brought me to where I am today. Anytime that I want to learn something special and unique, I seek out the best person in that industry for that. And I don't, when I'm having the conversation about what their value is and what is the cost of their time, I just listen. I don't judge. I don't tell anybody that they're charging too much. I just figure out how I can do it because I need that, so I don't ever, downsize or downplay about, oh my God, he's charging $10,000. He's charging 15. I'm like, well, guess what? If my child needed an operation and it was $10,000 or $15,000, you best to believe I'm gonna be out here trying to figure this out. So because this is my family, this is my life, this is my future, I need to figure this out. So I figured it out. So I was out there. I came back with a broken hip, Glenn. I had a fractured hip.
Wow.
Backpack on my back. I was really out there like that. You know what I'm saying? So, my family was looking at me. They were like, there's no eyelashes and lipstick in the Army, you don't do that here. And I was like, I know, but it's only temporary, I just got to take it for the season until I finish. So I did all of that. I sacrificed, my MAC, my lip gloss, for a really short period of time. It was only 6 months. So I sacrificed all of that and I did finish successfully and I got my bonus and I was able to pay for my mentoring program. And that was the catalyst to me off and running to the races. Like truly, like I literally took off. In 2015 is when I officially resigned. And when I say resign, I mean lovingly, affectionately resigned from corporate banking. And it was a pleasant experience because I had the opportunity to build up my cash flow, number one, to replace my income, exceed my income. But there was a time, Glenn, that I did a flip. And it was the net proceeds to me was my annual salary as a banker, as a vice president. And I was just like, that just happened.
Yes.
So when that happened, I was like, okay, it's time for me to consider. I've already proved to myself that I can. So in 2015, I resigned, had the, going away party, like I was retiring. You know what I mean? You know how you retire and you diddy bop out. You be like, all right, hey, I'll see y'all. Hey, I'll see y'all. You did all of those things, and I've been a full-time entrepreneur ever since then. So full-time entrepreneur. and a part-time warrior because I'm still in the military. And today I'm a captain. Who knew?
Oh, wow.
Jackson.
Wow.
Yeah. So cute. So I made it.
Listen, I salute you. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but I salute you.
You got the shark with you, like.
Amazing story. I mean, just the story of determination like that to get to the point of where you are right now. I mean, that in of itself is worth the cost of admission to this show. we should start charging more then. But I mean, I know if there's anybody watching this that doesn't learn something from that, then I don't know what's wrong with them. But that, I mean, amazing stuff. Like my story, my journey was a little different. I mean, of course, the obstacles and all that were there. But I don't know if I would have joined the Army to get the money. Knowing what I know now, I would have done anything I had to do. But in my ignorance, I was just like, I'm gonna figure it out some way or another. Mm-hmm. And that cost me a whole lot more than it had to in mistakes. Had I been intentional about investing in my education. So I certainly applaud you because you were on the path, that many people miss when getting involved in this business. They want to come in, they want something to happen right away, and they don't want to invest anything to get that to happen. Yeah. I'm like, where they do that at?
And it's so interesting because we all invest on what we believe is important to us, right?
Yes.
So, when someone says that they want to do a deal first and try it out, dibble dabble, I'm like, oh, okay, you want a hobby. You don't really want a business. And that's okay. I just want to be transparent and just be honest with yourself. Just be honest with yourself, right? Because you done spent, and I'm gonna get all Ebonics on you real quick. You done spent how much money in student loans trying to get this education that has no guarantees? Because that's really what really is the showstopper for people. Like, what are you guaranteeing? Like, the Department of Education ain't guarantee you nothing.
Right.
That just says, okay.
Yes, listen, if I had $1 for the times I've been asked about what I guarantee, I probably, could save those dollars up and retire on it myself.
Like, I guarantee that you will have all the information that you need to make an informed decision if you decide that you're going to do something with it.
That's right. If you decide to decide.
That's
a major difference. That's a major difference. Listen, this is absolutely phenomenal. But I want to ask this question. Because of the transition, I mean, because of the way that you went about doing what you did, what would you say to the new investor or the new person that wants to get started doing what you're doing? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I would definitely.
Soldier. That's what they should need to do.
You want Commander Jackson, or you want the Jackie Jackson? Like, which one you want? Because
give us both, because some of us need both of them.
Commander Jackson's like, suck it up.
Absolutely.
Stop crying. Get over yourself, right? But I got to be a civilian and I got to play nice because not everybody is about that life, right? So what I would really say is like, listen, I totally get it that you have dreams, you have goals, you have aspirations, but having dreams, have goals, aspirations, and visions is not how they're going to manifest, right? It's just a thought. In order for you to manifest your dreams, your goals, your visions, you're going to have to put some action behind it. You're going to have to really get targeted and focused on what you're doing, and really eliminate all of the distractions, all of the things that are not serving you, all of the things that are not adding value to your life, the people, all of that, circumstances. You got to get rid of all of that stuff, right? You got to quiet everything and just focus. Because all of my really wealthy friends, like the people who I hang out with, they say, Jackie, this stuff is kind of simple. And I'd be like, really? Is it though?
Right.
It really is. So it's doing a couple of things to the best of its ability and repeating the process over and over again until you get what you want out of it. It's really, really that simple.
Absolutely.
But we make it complex. So people make it complex because they add all these other ingredients in it and it's not relevant. So it's really focusing on the things that make you most profitable and just doing those things only. Truly. Get rid of all the other stuff. It's all good. It'll be all right. It'll be there. I promise you it is. So that's my advice to new investors, is to really get focused, really get clear on what you want in your life, and then identify a strategy, whether it's tax liens or tax deeds or wholesaling or options or mobile homes or commercial properties. Shout out to Carter. I'm learning about commercial real estate. I've never done any commercial real estate deals before, so he's shared with me that he'll be assisting me in that. So that's my next coach right there. But my point here is, like, it's just really focusing on what you really, really want in life, and then aligning yourself with the people who have already accomplished those goals, and not being afraid to invest in yourself so that you can be with them and share their time. Because the one thing that God never gave us control over is time. We have control of our decisions, but time is something that none of us control. So you have to spend it wisely, because you can never get it back, no matter how much money that you have, right? So you got to choose wisely who you align yourself with, who you listen to, and the decisions that you make.
Great stuff. I wish I could end it right there, because I don't know how much more you could give after giving that. But I got one more question that I know that there's a person out there where we had this conversation about this no money down, no credit type of thing. And I know you did give a little bit of information about how possibly someone could potentially, maybe, almost get close to use all those words to identify. How would someone get started investing in tax liens or tax deeds with no money or no credit? Or is that possible?
Yeah, totally possible. So you don't need your credit at all, right? Because if you're at the auction, no one's asking you, are you pre-qualified? No one cares. That's not the topic of discussion for the day, right? They just want to know, do you have the money? So I heard you said, like, no money down. Well, there is money requirement at the auction, but guess what? It don't got to be yours.
Absolutely.
Got to be your money, period, right? So, I tell people, don't be discouraged about what properties are selling for at the auction. Obtain the wisdom, obtain the knowledge, and you can be consultant for other real estate investors that want to participate in the auction, but they just don't have the time, nor do they have the desire to learn the strategies. And you can actually be a representative for someone else. So I have plenty of students that have done that. And I was like, bruh, you're charging more than me. Like, I have become consultants after I taught them, because they were like, I could just charge the other investor. I was like, well, do what you do.
Great stuff.
Do, man. So I've had other investors charge consulting fees, and have gone and, represented other investors who were cash heavy and participated in the auction for them. So yeah, it was the other investor's property, but that gave my student the opportunity to create cash flow for themselves, create, some kind of sales for themselves. And they ended up like representing 4 or 5 different investors. And then they made like 20 grand just doing that. Yeah, because they charge the fee. They charge the fee to do the due diligence, and they charge the fee to, like, put the whole packages and do all the research and stuff like that. And I was like, gosh, I didn't think of that. Like, why did I think of that myself?
Right.
That's what I do. I love empowering and I love teaching. So, what people do with the information that I share is pretty unique and pretty powerful, because I go extremely granular just to make sure that they're clear and they understand more than a lot of educators do.
Definitely. And you teach that strategy as well on how they could become consultants. Do you teach that also?
Yeah, we have a discussion about it when we're together. And it's part of their goals, part of their alignment. Like when they say, like, man, Jackie, I want to buy property, but I don't have any money. And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Let me show you how you can get it. You can be a consultant. Let's, put together a PowerPoint or some kind of presentation after you understand what you're doing. Have you had any conversations with your family members, your friends, the dude at the gas station? You need to be talking to everybody so that you can share with them the good news of what you're up to. Because as long as you are of the belief that everybody around you is broke, then you're going to stay broke yourself. Okay. That's just the same. So if you're like, oh, but ain't nobody I know got money. Ain't nobody that that got money that told you that they got some money. Right? They got a little mattress. Somebody got mattress money around here. Somebody got it.
Listen, if you ever decide to become a preacher, let me know what you're because that is gospel right there.
Somebody got it. Because there's no shortage of it.
Absolutely.
There's no shortage of money in this world. It replenishes itself. You heard? And if you haven't tapped into it, it's because you're just not tapping in. But it's there for all of us to enjoy and to take advantage of. Okay, so just be positive and to align yourself with the opportunity. Like money shows up when it has a purpose. And a lot of people, if you're suffering from not having, you know, enough money or currency or whatever, it's because you're not exposing yourself to opportunities. That's all it is. Like you don't have a real purpose for it. And a lot of people are like, but I do have a purpose for it. I'm like, your bills is not your purpose. Your bills is not a purpose. Your bills is your existence. So how long are we going to go through life existing and surviving? That's not a purpose. Till death do us part with these bills. Even when you pass away, you still got bills. You're living for your bills. Oh man, I just need to be paying these credit cards down. Okay, and what? Like, what's going to happen to you beyond your credit cards? Have you thought about beyond your credit cards? Okay, now you paid all your bills off. You got rid of your debt. Now what? Crickets. Wow. That's why you're broke.
Exactly.
You don't have no clue.
Absolutely amazing. So dare I ask this question before I let you go, because I know you got to jump off. So I got a couple, just of, finishing up questions. I know you offer a 15-minute free consultation. How do the folks reach out to you? How do they get in contact with you to take advantage of that and, take advantage of the training that you have to offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So how that process works is they can go to my website, which is thejackyjackson.com. And on that website, somewhere on the homepage, there's going to be like book with Jackie or schedule a consultation. There's going to be a button. So, and everything on my website is pink, y'all. So, I like pink. So don't judge me. I'm that girl. So go to my website, click on the pink button, and schedule a consultation with me. If you want a longer consultation, then there's an option for that as well too. So I do request that you lovingly and affectionately invest in that extra time. So if you want to go longer than that, you can select any of that time, but 15 minutes is definitely something that I tied into people. So you could definitely just click on that button if that's the right fit for you. But here's what people don't normally do, which I love it. It's so funny. And I call them out on it every time. So I'm like, okay, so you selected a 15-minute consultation because you really wanted 6 months of coaching in 15 minutes. Is that what we're doing today? Is that what we're doing?
You want me to change your life in 15 minutes.
Yeah, don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Be nice. All right. We will tell you.
And look, 15 minutes mean 15 minutes. So if you want to get on and talk about the dog for the first 10 minutes and you got 5 minutes left, it's what it is.
I love, and I actually manage my own schedule and my own calling. At least for now, I do. I think in the future, I'm moving on to scaling my business where I have more people involved in that process. But it's always so awesome when I call and I get someone on the phone and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's you!" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." Like you clicked the button. So like I was gonna call you. I called you.
Right.
So yeah, if you select the time, then it would be me calling you back. At least now, so you get the Jackie Jackson on the phone.
Great stuff. Any parting? I mean, you gave so much wisdom. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you're a fountain of wisdom. Is there any parting words of wisdom that you want to share with the folks before we jump off?
Absolutely. I tell people, do not drink the Kool-Aid. So do not drink the Kool-Aid that the world is burning, that, everything is ending, everyone is dying, everything is horrible, none of that stuff. As long as you have that consciousness of negativity, if you're feeding into that or aligning yourself with that, that's the type of experience that you're going to have in your life. You have to literally disengage completely, like from all of that information and really create your own life, like really be intentional about your own thoughts and what you expose yourself to, because that's how you're going to be able to actually win. As long as you are distracted and you're listening to what the world says, then you're going to get caught up and you're going to waste time that you can never get back.
Absolutely. Again, great stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. And I want to make sure I tell the folks, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. It has a lot of information. She's a wealth of information. Definitely go and check out the YouTube channel at YouTube, The Jackie Jackson. I want to make sure I got that right. youtube.com, the Jackie Jackson. Definitely go and check that out, because I watched maybe 2 or 3 videos and I'm like, this is changing my life already. I talk about real life real estate investing, and I think tax lien and tax deed investing is more real life real estate investing. So if you tell anybody else I said that, I will not admit to it, but it is what it is.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. It's just such an honor and a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you again for the invitation and the opportunity to share with your audience on your platform. So that's really special and very, very important for me to acknowledge, because you're a very unique professional yourself. And I just want everybody to know how incredible you are. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And so I guess I got to give you that check after the show is over. I'll make it out to the Jackson.
I'll send you my invoice. Don't even
Right. But thank you again. Thank you again for sharing. Thank you for being on the show today. Folks, definitely go and check out her information. Support anything she's got going on, because she's absolutely amazing. And you get a chance to watch her YouTube videos. You got to pay attention to that infectious laugh. I'm like, that just got me. I'm like, yeah, she's got to be on this show.
Oh my goodness. I heard that. I did not know that I had a laugh, because, you just laugh, right?
Right.
Snort with it, or, spit with it, like whatever it is. Like everybody got their own little thing, So it started to take on a life of its own when I would do my consultation calls, and then people would say, I found you on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome, but I love your laugh. And I'd be like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, what? Laugh? What? Of all the things? Like that. Yeah. I was like, I didn't even know that was something that people paid attention to. So I'm just grateful for it. People like me. If that's what gets them to their goal, them listening to me laughing and giggling while educating them, then so be it. But, my intention is to educate and train and empower. So if it's fun and exciting, then that's cool. Oh, one more thing before I go. And I'm going to tell you how I knew that, I'm big time now. And I done blew up. Okay.
Right.
So I spoke to a gentleman like a couple of days ago. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, Glenn, I was like, how did you hear from me? Kind of like just take a survey. Like, where do we meet? Where do we encounter each other? And he said YouTube. And I was like, okay, cool. But he was like, before I went to YouTube, I actually was referred to you from dude in my barbershop. He was like, my barber. I was like, no way.
Wow.
Barbershop? Oh, hell. That's big time, Glenn.
Yes, indeed.
When I'm part of barbershop talk?
Wow.
Oh my God, that meant the world to me. I literally got like a Golden Globe award, or like, I was like, your barber referred me? He was like, yeah, he was cutting my hair the other day, and he know I'm trying to get into real estate, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, hey, the Jackie Jackson? He was like, nah, I don't know the Jackie Jackson. He was like, nah, check her out on YouTube, she cool. And I was like, oh my God.
And listen. See, now we talk about signature things. I can't miss this. The money suit. I love the money suits. So now I got to find a variation of it, so I don't look like I'm copying you all the way. But I am. But just don't tell nobody that I am.
All right. Well, I wear my prosperity. I'm pretty, I'm an advocate about it. I'm not really ashamed of telling people what I'm all about. I definitely believe that we were here and we were created to be successful and to get everything that we're supposed to get. So I boldly ask for what I want. And as I wear, the money garments or the earrings or whatever the jewelry is, I got shoes, I got all kinds of, I have a whole wardrobe full of this pattern specifically. But when I wear it, what it does, it reminds me how prosperous I am, and it reminds me of how worthy I am. Okay. And interestingly, the U.S. currency, it says in God we trust. And I'm a Christian woman. So I'm like, shoot, my daddy name is on this money. What?
Absolutely. Listen, I can't thank you again. I can't thank you enough. I absolutely adore and love what you stand for. And I know that some people that are watching this, will be definitely transformed as a result of encountering, what you have to offer. And thank you so much. I'm humbled. by your taking the opportunity or taking the chance, you know, and coming on the show and sharing. And again, thank you so very much. I certainly appreciate it. We got to do it again.
We definitely do. And thank you again, Glenn. Thank you so much. God bless.
All right. Thank you all for watching. This has been the Real Life Real Estate Investing Show, where we talk about real life real estate situations and we bring you real life real estate solutions. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.